Hi guys, in the last video we saw what is a microservice and how to create microservices using Spring Boot. Um, and towards the end of the discussion, we were talking about a Docker. So I thought of providing a slide on the Docker, what it is, and how to create them. So that is what this session. Okay. So Docker is a tool designed to make easier to create, deploy, and run applications by using containers. Right? Containers allow developers to package up an application with all the parts of its needs, such as libraries and other dependencies, and ship it all out as one package. See, if whoever worked on the Java projects before in the Java JE world, there's a class path, and the class path is one of the very hard thing to do if you have a very complex modules depending on many other libraries or jar files, and it has to be some jar file should be in the web level, something should be in the app level, so that you get the loading of the classes properly to make the function work right end to end. But now, so in those times, what we do is we'll have a Tomcat or a WebSphere or WebLogic servers, right? And we actually try to create a WAR file, and there might be some dependent jar files where we call it as a library, and we will set it up so that when you try to execute the WAR file on the webinf class loading level, it has all the related class paths aligned so that it performs, it functions well, right? But it is a very laborious process. You need to know the people who knows that stuff to make it work, right? But now what we are saying is, if you have the same model, that might work for a specific company who has their call centers and their development machines in some place, and you try to mimic the same effort what you did on the development side through some scripting like AnScript or Maven script, and try to put it on the staging and production environments, right? But now things are a lot more complex with the hybrid cloud. The same application could be running on your call center or could be running in AWS, or some same thing could be running in Google, right? You don't have much control on how do you, so you get lots of benefits of doing distributing your application across, but it comes out the challenges of maintaining all these deployments properly so that it works exactly the same way, right? That is what this containers trying to do, right? And basically Docker is the tool which is creating the containers so that you get not only your executable, it has all the dependencies along with it. Okay, that's good. That's theory part. Okay, now coming back to how to generate it, right? Docker has Docker Spotify Maven plugin, right? If you Google it, you will know the thing. Um, all you have to do it, you have to specify it in the pom.xml file. It is very well integrated with the Maven build process and creates the Docker image. Okay, so let's see what it is first, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So as usual, we will take the rating service. This is our first service, right? So let's go into the pom.xml file. So within the pom.xml file, this is the Maven typical file, right? And it has, since it's a Spring Boot application, you see some starter things, right? We talked about it in the last video. And towards the end of it, you see a build tag, right? Within the build tag, what we are saying we are saying use the Spring Boot Maven plugin. Okay, so and this is basically creating the Docker image directly. Okay, but what it needs something as an input. It needs the Docker file. Okay, let's read about the Docker file. Docker file is syntactically you should have a if you put anything here without following the syntax, it won't work. It has to, you have to make sure you follow it through. So we are saying here from the JDK Alpine thing, take that as the base image, and the volume could be slash temp. That means whatever it's creating, it is going to use the slash temp here. Expose 8083, right? Remember last time when we tested this rating service, this is very important. So I just want to make sure. See, when we try to do this, it is using 8083, correct? That is what we are trying to expose it here, 8083. Okay, what port? The output, right? From the consumer perspective, it will be exposed. So it is exposing as a 8083. Okay, and what we are saying is whatever under the targets. It's going to create the file within the target basically. So star.jar file. So it's basically taking, it's going to regenerate. If I run it, it's going to regenerate this file and then create as an app.jar file. Okay. So let me try to run this as we speak. Then I'll talk a little bit more. So because it's it's going to take a little time. So okay. So all you have to do it is run as Maven build. Okay, so for any Maven project, the package, right? If you specify the package as the goal, it's going to execute the build target, right? So that's what we are trying to do. It's all Maven thing. Okay, so it is trying to generate it. At the end, what we are saying is entry point will be Java -jar add.jar. So it's basically trying to run this. This is a executable jar file. So it generates this. So when the Docker file will be running, it is basically running the main class within that. Remember our main class, right? That is what. Let me show you that the main class. The application, right? So this is what internally the Docker file is saying. It's going to create the app.jar file and run the Java command on that jar file. Okay, that is what it is. Now some interesting. So far you guys were seeing some of the things. The build process is happening. Now towards the end of it, it's going to do the Docker things. Once it finishes the run test and so on, what it's going to do is it's going to do the Maven Docker plugin stuff. And this is, if there is an error or something, you will be seeing it here. Probably it takes a couple of minutes to generate the Docker image basically. Okay. So it's saying image will be built as agile rules / movie rating service. This what do you mean by agile rules / where I specified that? Okay, so to answer you for that, so before I do that, it's since I already ran it once, it is doing faster. If it ran for the first time, each one it's going to say pulling up the open JDK, because if you see the Docker file in the top, it is basically saying pulling up. That is the first step. There are 5 steps in the Docker file. Here also it is 1 to 5. It's following the same thing. It's basically saying the image will be pulled. Base image has been pulled from the JDK. It needs to have a JDK, right? Then it is saying, okay, image is up to date because it's already done. That's why it's faster. Then volume is added to /temp, right? And 300 expose 8083, right? And add target, and the entry point is this. So it's did all these 5 steps and successfully tagged here. This is what the tag, right? And now let me show you in the pom.xml file where that agile rules has come from. Basically, it is it's kind of an important concept because it is going to the Docker Hub. It's going to tie to the Docker Hub. So I just want to make sure I try to explain this better. So in the build process, right? Remember the Spring Boot Maven plugin, correct? So if you have any Maven project, for example, all you have to do it is just to copy this section. That's it. If you copy this section, you can convert any Maven Java project into a Docker project. The secret sauce is only this, okay? And you have to run the target as the package, okay? And so here in the repository name, we are saying agile rule slash the project dot artifact ID. Got it? So that is why it is creating you the project as agile rule slash. Since the name of the project is movie rating service, and this is the snapshot thing, right? So the artifact ID is it took that. Okay. So now so that is good. So one side now we know what is a Docker and how to create the Docker image using the Maven plugin. So any Java project could be converted into a uh, Docker image very easily. So now the next question is you need to push it to a Docker hub or something, some repository. Okay. What is a Docker hub? Docker hub, if you go inside let me go here, dockerhub.com. I have a username and password. Anybody can go and create the username and password, right? It is free. There are two versions, but the non-business version is free. So yeah, you guys can register it here. Once you register, you guys can create what is the name of the repository. So what's going to happen is once you created your Docker image, and if you push it using the command line, it automatically connects and puts it inside the thing. So for example, this is the command. The command is docker push agile rules movie rating service colon 001 dot dash snapshot. How we know that name? We know that name by end of these things, right? So this is what it is. And if you see under the target, this jar file, there is a jar file under this. Exactly, you are saying this is the jar file. This jar file is little huge because it has all the dependencies too. See, that is why the jar file is huge. Correct. When I double click, it's running it as an application. Basically, that's what it's doing. It's an executable jar file. Correct. So you might ask the question, what is this Docker toolbox? How do you get it and so on? Docker toolbox, I think let me try to see Docker toolbox. I have a cheat sheet here. Okay. For Windows XP Home Edition, download the Docker toolbox exe from this. So I'll put this also within this thing. Okay, so it is part of this itself. And once you download, you have to execute it. Once it executes, what's going to happen is I don't have a professional XP version. So if not, that means you have to. There are two ways to download the Docker thing, and I have to use this way because if you don't have the professional edition of Windows XP, that means you have to download this Docker toolbox. Okay, you can Google it and find out. But I struggled a bit. That's why I put this here exactly where to go and find it. Once you this is an executable. Once you run the executable, it is trying to run the application. That time it will ask you. It needs to have a virtual box, and you say yes, and it automatically gives you the Oracle VM virtual box for you. So you don't have to configure anything. It does it for you, but you have to beware that this internally uses the virtual box to make it work. Okay. See, any Docker thing needs to have either the nowadays with the Windows and the Linux already has it. Linux already has a native Docker thing. You don't have to go through this virtual box thing. But Windows, the latest Windows, the professional edition as a native thing, so you don't have to go through the virtual box. But if you have Windows XP, the non-professional edition, then this is how you do. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say docker push. When I do this, what it does, it automatically, since it creates on my local thing, it knows in my local repository there is a Docker image. Okay, whatever the images we have, it is knowing it. But now what we are saying is I am trying to push it to the hub thing. Since I already pushed, it takes a little faster. Otherwise, it will take a couple of minutes here. Okay, since I want to show it faster, I just did already for you. So if you go here, if you refresh it, you see here movie rating, Agile Rules movie rating, and it has the service there for you. And this is what is telling you. If you want to push it, that's the exact command we use. The tag name is this one, 001.snapshot. That is what our jar file name also, and we published into the Docker Hub. Okay, so the magic happens here. Basically, you say Agile Rules movie rating thing, and internally it knows, Docker push knows, oh, okay, I need to connect to the Docker Hub, and I have to upload it to the Docker Hub behind the scene. You're not giving the URL for this and so on. You just say what is your the image name. That's it. As long as that image is being in your locally. See, in our case, the image has been created locally, correct? So as long as the image has been created locally, you don't have to provide. It is actually in here. This is what the location of this. But as long as uh, the Spotify plugin has been used. There are many other ways to do it. There is a Red Hat OpenShift way. They are using a different plugin. But any plugin, the concept is the same. As long as you use one of the way to create the Docker image, and if it generates the Docker image, that means this console knows, oh, okay, there is an image with this name, and it knows the path and so on. You don't have to specify where it is and so on. See, for example, here, if you see here, right click, if you see, right click, you can see uh, where the file is, right? This should be under some relative things. It's under the C: project Spring Boot, blah blah blah. So this is my workspace where I cut my thing and so on, right? But we are not specifying this anywhere. All we are specifying here is just a Docker push. In the Docker push, what we said was Agile Rules slash. If you can specify the name properly here, it knows it has to go and pick the jar file from here, and it knows it will connect to the, it's kind of a Docker Hub kind of a cloud thing where it automatically trying to publish it, and it tells you the digest name whether it is done properly or not, and you can go and verify logging into the Docker Hub to see if this is there, and you verified it. Why we do all these things? The next step, we are going to deploy the same application into the AWS Elastic Container Service, right? And to do that, it needs to have the image. That is why first we are in the first lecture we saw how to create the microservices and what is the architecture, how to run it locally. Second, right now what we are saying is converting that into a Docker image. Once you created the Docker image, how to push it into the Docker Hub. In the next step, we are going to see how the AWS ECS, we can take this image and deploy it and try to run it in the cloud, right? So I will put the GitHub repository towards the end of the presentation. Thank you.